Hi guys, Vigorous Rapscallion here with another quick tutorial video. Today we're going to start going into how to design actual multiplayer games. So we're just going to go through different game modes rather than go through each chip individually and see where we're going to need the different chips. So today for the first one we're just going to do capture the flag. I've got a very simple capture the flag setup here. So rather than flags I have some drink cups over here and some trigger zones. There's another one over there. And let's see, I've made a few modifications to these, so let's take a look. Okay, well this one is looking for the tag drank1, which this cup over here, if we take a look, is indeed tagged drank1. And then this one over here is looking for drank2, and that is indeed drank2. So those trigger zones are only going to output a ping if the corresponding object is dropped into them. So that's the first part, but we're going to need some chips in front of us to get this going. Let's get started on that. Alright, so obviously in a game of Capture the Flag, you're going to be needing to keep track of score. So let's start out with that. Looks like we've got a get score and a set score here. Those sound pretty promising. Let's get them in front of us, see what they do. Take a look at the nodes to start with, as usual. So it looks like we've got team over here, we've got score. That sounds pretty self-explanatory. This is just going to tell you what score whatever corresponding team currently has. Over here we've got another team node that sounds like it's going to do the same thing, and that's going to decide what team this chip is going to deal with. Then we've got our set node over here, and then we've got score. Okay, these take a little bit of explanation. So set is a binary switch. If it gets anything besides a 0, it's going to activate. And it's not going to increment another value into the score because you may want a custom value. There's a lot of reasons not to have it set up like that. So instead, it's going to set whatever is coming into this blue node, which is currently 0. Okay, so we're going to need some way to activate these things, and we also need to tell them what team they're dealing with. So let's get a variable in front of us to do that. There we go. Set that to 1, so now both of these chips are now dealing with team 1 once I have them set up. And let's get an output so we can see what's going on. Let's put that down there. And sure enough, the score is currently 0 for team 1. That all looks good. We need some way to increment this. Let's just use a button for now. Button, who's got the button? There we go. I hate when it does that freaky thing. Alright, so let's see. We're going to go ahead and take our win button push node here. And we're going to hook that up to set score. But what's it going to set it to? Well, right now 0. We'd prefer to set it to 1. So let's do that. And let's see what happens. Well, nothing. And that's because these chips need a game to be going to do anything. They're just going to be completely inert if you don't have a game mode initialized. So let's deal with that next. Let's get our game actually started. Alright, so we need to start the game up. So I moved over here to just sort of have this module in a different area. But this is going to be our game state module over here. So we're going to use the game state chip and the set game state chip. Those sound like they're dealing with just what we want to deal with. So let's go ahead and hook it all up. Take a look at what these nodes do. Game started, game ended, and pre-game started. Well, these all look like output nodes. So we're going to come back to those. For now, we don't need to deal with them. We just want to start the game. So let's look at the other one, see if it does that. Hey, there we go. Start game and end game. So we're just going to use a switch to start the game up so that we can take a look at the other system we made, make sure it works. Let's just get that in front of us and hook it up. Oh, there we go. So this should start the game once I hit the button. There we go. Game starts in 3 seconds. Game on. So now this whole system should be working. We should get a 1 when I hit the button. Great, that works. And of course we could just hook that right up to our capture the flag modules over there, and it seems like it should work from there, except it doesn't. And that's because it's setting the score to 1 each time. We don't want that. We want the score to be whatever the score just was plus 1. Well, that sounds super easy. We could just use a combinator for that. So let's get it in front of us. There's the combinator. Alright. So we want it to be setting the score to 1 more than what the score currently is. This output is what the score currently is, so let's take that. And then we want it to be 1 more than that. So let's put that there. So now this combinator is adding whatever the score currently is, plus 1, which is 2. So let's take this off and make that our new set score amount. That should increment it each time we hit it. Let's go ahead and make sure it works. And there we go. Now each time we hit the button, we're getting an increment of 1. That all seems to work great. Let's go ahead and get it hooked up to our capture the flag system and make sure that everything still works once we have 2 teams going at once. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just repeat everything about this system except for team 2. So first let's go ahead and get a 2 variable. There we go. And now I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. I'm going to be getting a new combinator because we're going to have to be dealing with the score for Team 2. However, I'm still going to be using the variable from the 1 from over there to increment the score each time. I'm not going to narrate this part. I'm just going to fast forward through it. You already saw it set up once. Hopefully you can figure it out. Alright, so let's take a closer look at these little modules and make sure that they're all working before we hook them up to our entire system over there. So, I'm getting a little bit of sway there. So, first of all, it's because I'm not standing forward. Okay, first of all, we want to make sure that not just any old object is going to trigger this. We want to make sure only the object we've tagged is going to trigger it. So it doesn't look like this other object is doing anything. That's good. Let's go ahead and get the corresponding object and see if it triggers anything. Sure enough, we get the object ID as our output, and that's fine in this case. We don't need a 1, because this is a binary chip over here. So as long as that's anything besides a 1, it's going to increment our score once. We're still getting a pulse. It doesn't matter what the pulse is. It can be any value, any non-zero value, and that's still going to pulse. The problem is I could just stand here and keep on racking up points with nothing to stop me. That's an issue, and we need to stop players from doing that. People aren't just going to agree to not exploit that glitch to win the game. So there's a couple approaches to that. One is physical, where you could just set an item cleanup, which I already have one set for about 15 seconds for these guys, and make it so you have to, say, drop the object down like an inaccessible chute or something like that, where the player can't get to it afterwards and then it just respawns. The problem with that is you have to have a really short respawn time to sort of keep things fair, and it's just kind of a gross way to fix it. We have these object respawners, which seem like a better option to use. Let's take a look at how these work. So I'm going to try and place that a little out of my camera zone here, so I'm going to have to put it a little bit above, otherwise I'm going to have to take the headset off and readjust. But anyway, so we want that object to respawn there whenever it goes through. Let's go ahead and clone it and get another one over on the other side. And let's just put that there. So now I've got one on each side. And then let's use the move tool to get this a little better. There we go, that's looking neater. So let's take a look at our object respawner here and see how it works. Got 2 nodes. It's not currently hooked up to anything. Respawn object by ID and respawn object by tag. Well, the object in there is already tagged, so that seems like the option for us. Let's go ahead and use that. Tag to respawn is going to be drank1, DRANK1. Great, so now it's associated with that item, but it needs to know when we want it to respawn that item. So we don't want to do by ID, we want to do by tag. Let's go ahead and grab that. We're going to bring that on over and hook it up to that. So now whenever that object goes through there, it should respawn just over there. Let's go ahead and get this one set up ahead of time, just so we don't have to do a lot of back and forth. So we want to modify the tag, and this one's going to be drank 2 because it's going to be dealing with the other drink cup. Okay. And that's all looking good. Let's go ahead and grab that again. Grab our red arrow for respawn by tag. There it is. Oh, I accidentally froze the object. It looks like I must have hit that by accident. In settings, there we go. It's nice that they added a little error report though to tell you why you can't hook things up. So let's go ahead and get that. Oh man. Boom. Okay, so let's make sure it works. Let's grab one of our red cups, bring it over there, and we want to make sure we're also still getting the point when it respawns. So let's make sure both things happen. Sure enough, we're getting that ping. It respawns back over there. Doesn't happen perfectly for this tutorial. I'm not going to bother with getting that all set up neatly so that it respawns, you know, in the same way each time. You can do it. You can fiddle around with that in your games if, you know, aesthetics are important to you. You can see since I set this up with red cups, aesthetics are not very important to me. Anyways, next we want to take this system and get it hooked up to our scorekeeper. And we want everything to reset once it hits a certain point. Let's say 5 points for this setup. So once it hits 5 points, we want the whole game to restart. Okay, let's take a look at that next. Okay, you can see I've still got a few scores up on those outputs. Sorry, I had to do another take of something. That's why the scores aren't what they were before. The game is currently ended. You can check if you're still playing a game by using your teleporter. But the values haven't reset. They are going to reset just when the new game starts. So once I hit push me again and the pregame finishes, it'll reset both those values. So we don't need to worry about setting up any sort of system for that. It's going to be done automatically. Okay, but what's not going to be done automatically is ending the game. So let's have it end actually at 3, just so that the video will be a bit shorter. You don't have to watch me running back and forth too much. So we're going to use comparator chips for that. And we're going to want to be dealing with our, let's make that one our team 2 value. This is our team 1 value here. And if it's equal to 3, we want the game to end. So let's get a 3. Let's connect it. So that's what we're comparing to. In this case, it doesn't matter what you put on which side. Just because we're doing equals, not greater than or anything like that. However, it's good habit just to make sure that you set things up that way, whatever you're comparing to. Okay, so our outputs here are going to be if red equals green, then true or false. Right now it's false. When it's true, we want the game to restart. We only have one of these little game state chips over here, so we're going to use a combinator so that either team getting to 3 is going to reset the game. So let's combine those two. So if either one of these is 3, then we're going to get that output and everything's going to reset. So let's go ahead and start the game and make sure it works. I'm just going to have team 1 win for this demonstration. There we go. So once I score 3 points, the game should end and not reset automatically. You're going to have to push that button to reset it. You could set up a timer, however works best for resetting your game. You're just going to hook that up to the game start node. So let's go ahead. That's 2 points. And right now, one form of griefing that I haven't quite figured out how to stop is, of course, players could score points against their own team. But I don't know why people would purposefully lose, but they probably would. So that I haven't figured out how to fix yet, but if I do, I'll go over it in a later video. For now, you just have to rely on people not being that, you know, much of jerks. Alright, well, there you have it. That's the very basics of a capture the flag game. It still has a couple of problems, and it's not very complicated, but that'll get you started. In the next video, we're going to be doing deathmatch, so that's going to be dealing a lot more with the player hits, chips, and things like that. I'm probably going to need a volunteer for that, so it might take me a little longer to get that one up. I'll need somebody else to help me make that one, but hopefully I have it up within the next week, so stay tuned for that, and as always, have a nice day.